Up to this point, we've only discussed primitive data types, things like booleans, numbers, and strings. But what if we want to deal with data that's a little bit more sophisticated than a simple primitive data type? For instance, what if we want to somehow represent a car in a program? How might we do this with simple primitive data types? The short answer is that we really wouldn't want to. We could do something with a string perhaps to provide some descriptions about the car or some explanations or things, but this would become extremely hard to work out in our program itself. So instead what we want to do is discuss now things called composite data types that JavaScript allows us to use. And composite data types consist of a number of different things, but the first and most fundamental one are objects. We can create an object using curly braces, both an opening and closing curly brace. And within these curly braces, we can add things like properties. So here I've added a number of properties that consist of string values, numerical values, number values, and Boolean values. And we can see how now we can create variables that are made up of more complex or more composite data. Now additionally, we can add things like methods and arrays and even other objects within these fields and properties and things, which we'll discuss a little bit later in this course. But for now, all we want to concern ourselves with is that we can represent more complex data by using objects and other composite variables or other composite data types to store the appropriate data that we need. And the last thing we'll do here is log this variable to our console and then go into our browser and see how it prints out. We see that it prints out slightly differently than our primitive data types. It begins with this object word, and then it shows the individual properties contained within our object. And if we click this little arrow, it'll expand these properties so that we can see each one individually.